You drool in your sleep. So cute.
I said I'm up! No, but it's so cozy.
Hello, and welcome to our third episode. Well, second in chronological Spider-Man verse. We call that a beta episode, if you will. So welcome to the second official episode, third in the series of our podcast, Geekin This. First, some housekeeping. Let's introductions first, actually. So I am Peter, also known as Mr. Brightside. I go by that for my gaming purposes. I'm joined by my best friend Tony, longtime geeks and friends. We love everything in the 90s and pop culture, and our pop culture fandom and expertise is growing throughout the years. Oh yeah, say hi, Tony.
How's it going, buddy?
How's it going, man? So basically, the theme of this podcast is me and Tony just sat down one day and there's a lot of stuff out there. And when I say stuff, I mean like movies, comic books, games, TV shows. There's just a lot of stuff out there in geekdom and fandom and pop culture. So how do we discern what stuff is good or discern what stuff that we might have interest in? And so me and Tony came up with the concept of this podcast where we try to geek out or up geek ourselves, and geeking this of, hey, you might like this, you might geekin this out with this thing that I have. And so in our last podcast we were talking about Netflix's You and Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods.
Yeah, hey, by the way, before we continue, is it called Battle of Gods or is it Battle of the Gods?
Yeah, there's a lot of housekeeping. So first of all, slight housekeeping from Geek This, which was apparently taken. So we're changed now to Geeking This. Same podcast, same bat time, same bat channel. And I got a lot of things confused last time it's just Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball, the franchise, is just so confusing from the get-go. So I got the title confused. So not only is it not Dragon Ball Super, but it is Super because it's pretty much what jumps off the franchise into the Super timeline. It's called Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods, not Battle of the Gods.
Oh, okay.
Slight housekeeping there. But yeah. And then we're, of course, watching Netflix's You, which, more housekeeping for that, I believe it did actually air on Lifetime. I don't know how many episodes. I don't know if it was the whole season or not, or if it was just the first couple episodes, or if it was a whole season on Lifetime, then it went to Netflix. I just don't know the story there where it got picked up.
The previous episode is that it was produced by Lifetime, but I feel like, and the listeners can correct me if I'm wrong, if we're wrong, but I feel like halfway throughout the production of the show, Netflix tossed some money at Lifetime to buy it. Now, the second season certainly will be 100% original Netflix series, though. So this first season is more of like a hype between Lifetime and Netflix.
Perfecto. Yes. Alrighty. So what's great about You, I think you kind of nailed it on the head when you said a spiritual successor to Dexter.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Okay. So unpack that a little bit. Oh, go ahead.
Sure. No, let's. I like going off on Dexter tangents. So what I enjoyed about Dexter was sort of the grittiness, and I feel like with Netflix You, I feel like it's similar, but I feel like it's a little more lighthearted. If I want to, do you agree with that? It's a little more lighthearted than Dexter.
Well, yeah, the show's how do I put this? It's not explicitly about a serial killer, so by its very nature, it's not going to be as grim.
Well,
But
I feel like in
keyword there is
Dexter,
explicitly.
yes, I feel like Dexter grew to love Dexter, of course, but this one you feel a little bit. It's more organic liking Joe, because you
Yeah,
feel like
it's
he's a
interesting because
weirdo who's obsessed with people.
with Dexter, even though he is by nature of his actions a bad guy, quote unquote, because he's killing people, right? There's always a motive and rationale behind Dexter's choices, and
Yeah.
in the sense that it's almost for the greater good, if you will. Like he doesn't necessarily kill people who he believes doesn't deserve to die, whereas Joe, it's more of a selfish interest, right?
Oh,
He's
that's a
more,
great. Yes, that's a great distinction between the two.
yeah.
I
So
wouldn't say Joe is outright bad altogether either. You know.
right, it's complicated, but the motive or the motives behind Dexter and Joe are 100% different.
That's true. Yeah, totally different. Well, spoiler alert, totally different killers.
Yes.
So we're gonna actually go through these episodes. We're gonna do. It's a nicely season there. It's just a 10 episode season, so we're gonna break this right in half. So we're gonna go from episode 1 to episode 5, and we're just gonna hit on the major points of what happened. So first, Joe, main character, meets the second protagonist, which is Beck, Guinevere Beck, writer, trying to get her stuff off the ground in New York, very competitive writing scene in New York. So right off the bat, I have to say, I am a Joe fan, but I'm not a Beck fan. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. You can follow his way of thinking, I think is what you're trying to say. I'm not sure. Maybe unpack that a little bit.
Okay, so well, yeah, you follow his way of thinking. You start off sort of in the first person perspective of Joe Fox, um, just like you would in like a book. Well, it's based off a book, of course. And what's interesting is in the other episodes, like I think 4 and 5, we're gonna get to. You hear some of Beck's inner monologue, which is great as well. However, just something about Joe's story is more interesting to me, Joe's character, than what's Beck got going on.
Yeah, because it's kind of ambiguous, right? Joe's background, whereas you kind of know right off the bat what Beck is about, what her goals are, where she's well, not necessarily where she's been. I'm not sure about up to season 5. It describes that, but it certainly tells you where she wants to go. Like you said, she wants to be a famous writer. And Joe, it's kind of like this um, a reclusive kind of a book shopkeeper who kind of keeps to himself, very intelligent and witty. And there's something about that is kind of attractive in terms of his personality. But
Yes.
of course, beneath the layer, there's this hidden monster kind of.
Okay. I think yes, you nailed it on the head. But I think what I am infatuated with Joe with, which I think Beck eventually gets super infatuated with Joe with, is that he is always himself. Even though he doesn't like show that he's kind of a weirdo, that he kills
Yeah.
people, but he's really an honest character, more so than like Beck is, who's still trying to figure out who she is. And I think that's the main reason why I'm a little put off by Beck. But I
Yeah.
would redeem her by saying as the episodes get going, she becomes more full of a person, and it's more interesting to watch.
Yeah, well, I mean, okay, an example of that is certainly within the first 5 episodes, you see that she's how is the politically correct term for this? I think promiscuous is the best way of putting it. And so, not that that's necessarily inherently a bad thing for a person, but the point is that she seems to have different motives. Like, why is it that she's hanging around with all these different guys? What is she trying to accomplish? Is she really just using them, like certain characters allude to,
Right.
like Benji? but I don't know. Like so she's kind of more of a mystery, and so you contrast that with Joe, who's kind of just open and out there. Yeah, I'm a weirdo. Yeah, we're gonna book shopping. I'm a nerd, and so he seems more authentic, and maybe that's the true allure to him.
Yes. I think this is kind of the whole basis of this show is sort of identity as well. It's a recurring theme of the show, definitely. And what I like about it is how interesting that I feel that Joe knows Beck better than maybe Beck knows herself, or definitely better than her friends know her. And like has to go through this one adventure of him stalking him and obsessing over her. So I actually like find out who she truly is, and for him to tell her who she is, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I am kind of that person."
Yeah, it's very fascinating. Joe could be a great therapist.
Yeah, or even like motivational speaker, because she does start owning up to stuff at the end, and it's great to see that. That's when I started liking back when I saw that change happen.
Did you see? I don't remember if the episodes 1 through 5 show her confronting her, and this isn't a spoiler, but confronting her. No, not her father. Her professor slash boss.
Oh, yes. Okay. So yeah, that was in one of the first episodes that happens because she's with the MFA program. She's an intern trying to get stuff out there. If you're a woman writer and maybe attractive woman writer, you're gonna have professors who are skeevy and who are gonna get up on that. And so her professor mistakes Beck's genuine interest of wanting to be her as like flirtation, and then that's one of the first advice that Joe gives to Beck is, "Hey, call this asshole out."
Right, and she does, right?
And she tells him off, and she loses that job, of course, but better opportunities opens up after that.
Right. Yeah. So that was kind of like the, but it's interesting. Again, you have a creepy guy, but his at least those intentions to get her out of that trap were noble. You know.
So great guy, great character, great guy, and and then just like
but he's
this darker shit. I'm just excited to see how this plays out in the final episodes, because once she discovers who Joe truly is, it's gonna be wild.
Oh my god, dude! The last couple episodes, like I was telling you before we started recording, it's a roller coaster. Like you're on this kind of track going up, 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 and then the next couple episodes just goes straight down. And not in a bad way. It's just like the action and the speed just ramp up exponentially.
That's exactly how it feels like, because the last 2 episodes were really, really good, and it felt like everything's reaching a boiling point. So let's talk about the first sort of major thing that happens. Well, the intro is pretty much Beck and Joe get infatuated with each other, or Joe more so because he obsesses and stalks Beck to the point where he kidnaps Benji, her boyfriend, then. And the first major, I think, arc of the story is when you think Joe kills Benji at first, but instead he just sort of kidnaps him and hides him away. And this is the sort of first thing that happens. So we can talk about this. We'll talk about Benji right now. I'll give my impressions. When I first saw it happen, I thought, because again, I guess I keep on bringing it back to Dexter. I feel like Dexter would kill the person like right away.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was literally going to say that right as you said that. I feel like that's another differentiating factor between Dexter and Joe. Dexter would have no problem like just killing this guy. Yes. And so the fact that Joe is kind of struggling is kind of like, wow, okay, so he has some sort of empathy, some sort of good bad filter within him. So that was like really interesting to me. Like instead of him just being a straight up killer, well, immediately he kind of takes his time. He's like, oh man, like what the hell am I doing? Kind of questions himself. So that was fascinating to watch.
It was, he definitely has at least some morals, I'd like to say. So it was interesting to see first when that happens. you think Benji's dead right then and there. So that was surprising, the first action there. But then in the next episode, you realize that he was just unconscious, and now Joe has to toss him in his underground cellar there where all the books are. And so then that situation, I love that situation for some reason.
It's really like cool, like the underground, like with the books and a perfect environment. It's really neat, like literally trapping him.
Yeah,
and the most
the turn I expected, which was interesting. And I actually did like Benji as a character. Kind of a douchebag that you like to like.
huh.
Because he does end up helping Joe in the long run.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit, willingly too. And then some shit goes down. So Benji is sort of the kicking off point that I think Joe sees for Beck to sort of get her life straight, because he thinks Benji's just not gonna work out for what he wants Beck's life to be. And then he actually uses Benji a lot to figure out more about Beck, and then of course Benji tries to dissuade him about like how promiscuous she is and how fake she is and that sort of thing.
Yeah, which doesn't go well with Joe. Doesn't like to hear that.
No. So, and then it reaches the boiling point, and shoot, I'm trying to remember what happens. What escalates it to this happening? Do you know what happens between Benji and Joe that Joe had to make this choice later on?
You know, I don't recall off the top of my head, but let's think about it. Well, God, I don't remember.
Yeah, see, the later ones are definitely more fresher in my mind, but the whole thing with Benji.
I think it was because I think he just kind of knew at the end of the day that, okay, that's what it was. Remember how Benji came up with this kind of ingenious plan to save his own life by giving Joe some blackmail of him being a bad person, like
Right.
the video. And so Joe's like, well, look, dude, like I know like you trapped me here and that's what you're afraid of, that I'm gonna like rat you out. But if I give you this key to my dark secret, then we're even, and now like we have dirt on each other. So I think Joe kind of accepted that momentarily. He's like, okay, like maybe this is the way out. Now the question is, why did Joe decide it wasn't enough? That's what I don't really remember.
I think to answer that, I'm glad you brought that up, because now I totally remember that. I think at the end of the day, he recognized that pretty much freaking Benji was the liability. So even if
like regardless of the video,
even if he promised to never ever say anything, to Beck, to never ever saying to the cops, at the end of the day, he's the liability, and he must be erased.
Yeah, I think he just couldn't like trust him to keep his mouth shut. I think honestly, at the end of the day.
Of course. And that's what's interesting. So I went through a range. Then I was like, well, why didn't she just kill him in the first place? Did a Dexter? But he kind of got what he wanted from that relationship with Benji, and then he just ended. It was like, oh well, I don't need you anymore. I think I got this.
Yeah,
and then even more hilarious after that was disposing of Benji's body. I think the keeping lasted longer. The keeping of Benji's body lasted longer than the actual disposing of.
Yeah, that was crazy. Like him driving around with his body, like looking for a place to dispose of it, freaking picking up Peach and Beck, and then they both say, "Man, it stinks in your car." Like, yeah, there's a dead body back there.
Great situations, great tension. I love when like, oh, we gotta go down into the cellar for a book or something, or it was like the AC or something. He's like, oh, no, don't do it. And then he like actually lets out more of himself when he's angry about something. And then people are like, oh, you're kind of creepy, actually.
I like it when like I call it like his true self leaking out.
Yes, exactly. So that happens.
So that's
Uh,
the story arc with Benji, and then once we move forward from that storyline, now that he's got him out of the way, it kind of frees up Beck to be able to spend more time with Joe.
right, and there's a lot of back and forth of Beck not sure about going into the relationship. Still having like Tinder dates and stuff like that. And what's great is Joe's smart that he has like her phone and like was uncracked and able to still use it even though she thinks she deleted everything. And so he knows exactly what's going on in her world, and and just like still obsessing over her and still wanting to be with her is freaking ridiculous.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's crazy, like, the way that he's able to basically be a part of her life 24/7.
Yes.
I mean, that
Yeah.
truly is, like, oh man, cringy.
So what's happening in Beck's life was definitely the thing with the professor. After professor, she gets a new gig, and then she's always struggling with being a writer when she wants to write about. Then Joe, what we later find out is a lie that her father is dead from sort of a drug overdose. But what we find out in one of Joe's stalking episodes there, he noticed that Beck keeps getting a text from this mysterious person called the Captain, and that sends out red flags to Joe, thinking it's someone, a lover or something like that. And then turns out it happens to be Beck's father.
Isn't that isn't there a moment of between you finding out that it's her father and her picking out the skimpy outfit that you're like, wait a
Yeah,
minute,
I was
what?
like, oh, that was weird. Well, I mean, it's of course that episode because she's going through a Dickinson festival, which I have to say, off the top, don't badmouth Dickinson. No, I'm joking. So she badmouths Dickinson. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to be a writer, and she should know how hard it is to be a writer. But like Dickinson, the first guy to sort of write those things, so that's why he can get away with his dramatic cornball situations. But as writers,
And
zero
and
Dickinson.
well, to add to that, in that story arc of going to the Dickens Festival, I thought it was pretty funny how God, what was I thinking? Um, dang, I just lost it. I was thinking about something really important. Um, oh yeah,
Yeah.
it was about how Joe, he is always like one step right before he gets caught. Like he's
Yes.
so, and then even when he gets caught though, he's like such a master of manipulation that he's able to blend in and kind of just roll with the punches.
Totally.
Oh, I was here because I really did want to follow you in, or something like that.
Yeah,
Like
so this was like
it's just
episode 4, and it's been like 4 episodes of him like following her, and he's not. So,
no, but wasn't it great? Because isn't a response like you're full of shit or something, and then he's like, yeah, okay, just one.
yeah, that's true. And then he lets a little bit out more of his honest guess, and then he's like, "Yeah, I was actually stalking you, anyways." But in like a
And
good,
she's
like,
like totally chill with it.
and
That's
what's interesting in the sound clip that I showed you with when I mixed Beerus with Beck, she becomes sort of Joe's personality rubs off on her, and she becomes sort of stalkerish and obsessive-ish and creepy.
yeah.
That's very interesting. So we see the father. That's a big point in Beck's life, definitely, and Joe's starting to know that hey, Beck actually has some secrets too. Maybe we're not so different after all. That sort of thing.
Right.
But I guess if these are the two protagonists of Netflix's You is Beck and Joe, I would say the antagonists are. We'll first talk about Peach,
Her
her best
friends.
friend, her frenemy rather, and we'll also talk about. I think the other antagonist is Paco's dad as well, or stepdad, I should
Yes,
say.
very. So who is Paco and who is his stepdad?
Well, what's great is we were talking about how Joe had some sort of morals. He must have some sort of good moral compass, and we can see that in his
Interactions with Paco,
interaction.
who's his
Yeah,
neighbor.
exactly. And sad kid, tragic about with his stepdad and mom always fighting, and then he has to be on the steps, hungry and nothing to do. So George sort of takes him in, and that's great, really great to see his moral compass with Paco.
Yeah, I always see that's another reason why I like Joe. It's well, up to a certain extent, because like he doesn't just disregard this kid like screw you, I'm gonna go ahead and focus on my own life. He actually really feels some compassion for him, and I think without spoiling anything, I maybe a part of the equation in Joe's head for caring for Paco is because he sees a little bit of himself in
Yeah,
Paco.
totally. What's interesting is, well, you probably know more than I am in the later episodes. We don't really get a lot of that. We get a lot of snippets of his past life. So I'm interesting to learn about what happened to Joe in the past, because it is sort of similar to maybe what Paco's going through as well.
Yeah.
Does that get, can I ask if that gets brought up in the later episodes?
Yes.
Great. Awesome. So yeah, and then Paco's dad, drunken, belligerent, child hitter that he is. He's also a correctional officer, right? Or like a
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. And so, or a former or something along those lines, but he is a
okay.
law enforcement individual, and so that's what makes it more interesting. And so that's another like great thing about the show, where like you have these roles, and the people who occupy these roles aren't necessarily the stereotypical cookie cutter versions of who you expect them to be.
Of
So
course.
what I mean by that is for Paco's stepdad, it's this guy who we associate with, following the
Nip.
law, being
Yes.
good, being good natured, but then he's a completely different person in
He is a
reality.
douche. Yeah. Yeah. How interesting is that? And I'm sure the book does it really well as well too. Is just there's a total role reversal there because of course we're gonna like the protagonist of the story, which is Joe, but Joe's the killer, but we're still gonna like him. However, we're gonna dislike the antagonist, which would be Paco's stepdad. But he's a correctional officer. And how interesting! One of my favorite lines is, I think in the Paco's stepdad is in. He says, "There's something about you to Joe. Some look in your. I can tell by
Yes,
like the look in your eyes that you're just
you're a
fucking
creep.
evil. Yeah, creep."
Yeah,
It's like, well, he's
dude.
not wrong.
So that was fascinating to me because there's two characters that I can think of off the top of my head that kind of see through Joe's bullshit, and Paco's stepdad is number one. Like he's like just like you're a freaking weirdo, dude. Like, and he knows like his gut's telling him like something's wrong. Now the other person, and I don't know if you've gone to this point.
Yes.
Is one of Beck's friends. She kind of like suspects there's something beneath the layers, you know.
Yes, we can
I don't
go.
know.
That's a great transition into Peach, is
There you go.
Beck's
It's Peach,
best
everybody.
frenemy, and she can see through Joe. So that happens with Paco. They kind of intertwine actually, but the whole Paco's dad and Peach. So what happens is Peach is she just does not like Joe from the get go, suspicious of Joe. They have a house party. Joe actually takes a first edition book, not to like take and sell as Peach thinks from her library, but he actually takes it and gives it to Paco to read, which is
Yeah.
still bad. It's kind of like a Robin Hood happening. um, so Peach is always already a suspect of Joe. Um, and then Peach is always very controlling of Beck's life and pretty much all of Beck's friends even. And so they kind of see each other. I would say Joe is a manipulator too, so they can smell their own kind of thing.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's true. They can see through each other. I think is the way.
So what happens is Beck and Peach actually have a falling out because Joe is wise to what Peach is up to and says, "Oh, she's sabotaging you into becoming a writer. She doesn't really believe in you." So that sounds Peach into a downward spiral, and we find out a huge discovery that so not only does he steal a book from off her shelf, but he also steals your laptop too.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
So we
forgot
find
about that.
out that freaking Peach, through Joe's snooping on her laptop, that Peach is actually infatuated with that as well.
Man, what's up with Beck attracting all these wrong, bad people?
I think that's another thing why I'm put off about her. She's not that great.
Right, like that's hilarious. She's not that great, guys. Get over it.
Right.
That's true though, but basically, like, I wanna discuss that a little bit more, which is like, okay, so you have best friend Peach supposedly, and yet she's a horrible person, man.
Horrible.
Like the videos she has, and I don't know if I'm pretty sure up until episode 5, they kind of talk about how she treated her other friend.
I forget her name, but her other Instagram celebrity friend, yes.
Yeah, she like makes fun of her for being overweight and stuff like that, and then she, God, did she go as far as in these episodes, like to?
She posted an old video of where that friend making some racist comments.
Right, like God, what, like that's your friend, really? Like, oh my God.
Yes, there's a lot of role reversal happening in you, definitely, which is great to see, because usually your best friend should be your goddamn best friend, but instead is a sort of a frenemy thing that happens. And so she gets depressed. She eventually commits suicide, quote unquote, because Joe finds out she didn't really. And so there's a lot of playing the field with Joe and Peach with Beck, because they're trying to get Beck to be convinced by one of them, or Beck is a totally pawn to both of those characters.
Yeah, isn't that, by the way, like, okay, I get it, guys. Joe's a killer. He's a psychopath. I'm not gonna deny that. But isn't it equally psychotic to like freaking fake, by the way, not like real, kill yourself because it was just an attempt at publicity? Like that is psychotic in my opinion, man.
Yep, that's what happened. So I guess the only good thing that would come off of Peach's attempted suicide, Joe could actually learn to expunge something from a person, expunge toxins and drugs from a person, because Paco is definitely he so much to the point where he plans revenge on his stepdad and actually tries to overdose him on sleeping pills too. And then Joe saves the stepdad from all he learned from Beck and Peach's situation with that suicide. And what's hilarious about that scene is when the stepdad wakes up and just beats the crap out of Joe.
Wasn't that crazy? Like, oh my God, like, and oh my God, like, and Joe kind of just like takes it, you know, like.
Yeah, what the reason? I guess we got to backpedal. The reason why he takes it is after stalking Beck, Joe then begins to stalk Peach to see what she's all about, and then he discovers that she needs to be stopped pretty much right after the attempted suicide and manipulation with that, and he attacks her in a freaking park and leaves her for dead, or so we thought.
Wasn't that like insane? When I saw that, I was like, "Oh no, he didn't!" Like in a public park, like no planning. The emotions got the best of him, and he just went for it. Like, wow, that is truly ballsy, man.
Yes, I was. Damn, I applaud it. That's wrong, but I applaud it. So, one of my critiques was, wow, he should have killed Benji from the get-go. And then it took like all these episodes to get to another sort of incident, which I was like, finally he's doing something.
Yeah.
It's weird because to root for that is so weird, but in the story, it's organic. It's definitely sort of a Dexter thing because you definitely root for Dexter when he's doing all this bad shit as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my critique. Was I'm more of a Joe fan, and I want Joe to be killing more.
Oh my god.
which I think where I left off in episode 5, leading up to episode 6, I think stuff is definitely ramping up, as you said, and so I think I'll be pleased with how it finishes up.
Oh man, you have no idea. That's all I can really say, and like,
Wonderful.
it's gonna get messy.
Do you have any questions for me as a kind of a blank slate going into this?
I kind of just want to take this opportunity to ask you, what are your projections, and how do you think the story will end?
Okay, so what I have a feeling about. Ooh, there's gonna be a lot of play with. Does Peach remember who attacked her, or not? Or maybe she won't let on, but she really truly knows. So there's more play with that, and maybe Peach getting back at Joe somehow, or it could be open and she like remembers right away and like calls the cops on him or some shit.
Wait. So the episode you left off of is right when he hits her in the head?
Yes, to my knowledge, she's in the hospital because we got a phone call from Beck.
Okay.
Saying he's alive in the hospital. That's all I know so far.
Okay. That's okay. Never mind.
So that situation has to play out, and pretty much there was one line which was super creepy during the Dickinson Festival, where it was Beck and Joe, and Joe said to Beck in regards to her father and her father's new family. It's like, don't you just want him dead? And I thought that was super interesting because
Right.
Joe has the mind that he's taken out these people for Beck, Benji, Peach, that, the next person might be the father in the new family. But those characters right there are definitely an innocent, and that would be Joe's turning point, because those definitely are innocent, and that would be definitely not a good thing that those characters die.
Right. There's like no real like. Well, I mean, there's no reason to kill anybody, but I mean, in this
Yeah,
case,
exactly.
Joe doesn't really.
Definitely no reason. It's like Leela on Futurama. Next time I gotta kill someone, I'm just gonna eat a pack of gum.
Oh yeah. Okay, so you kind of think the way it's going to play out is
There's
perhaps
definitely going to be a sort of climax of where he kills someone that definitely doesn't deserve it. Definitely freaking Beck is going to find out who Joe truly is, and where it goes from there, I don't know, but it's definitely leading up to that point.
Okay, all right, that's a good prediction. Do you think that? How do you think? I don't know if I want to kind of ask your prediction on this, but do you think that it's going to be a happy ending for?
Oh man, I don't think it can be for anybody really.
Okay, all right,
Maybe
cool.
Paco has a happy ending.
Oh man, well, okay, we'll leave it at that.
Great.
We'll leave it at that. All right, so that was our kind of discussion of episodes 1 through 5
for
you.
Netflix You. We kind of skimmed through that. We hit on major points, but definitely stuff is ramping up for that Netflix's You. So give that a watch. Now we're gonna go on to Dragon Ball Z Battle of the Gods. Previously on Geekin This. Hey, did you watch Dragon Ball Z? So I am very interested of what you have to say about the movie, sir. If you want, I can give. I think I gave a synopsis in the last podcast, but I can give another synopsis as well. Why
don't I take a crack at it?
Sure, yeah, great, because a true test of a Dragon Ball fan is trying to make sense. What the fuck did we just watch?
That's very accurate. So let's see. I'm not going to give you any prerequisites because I don't know the prior history enough. But apparently, Goku, the greatest hero in the universe thus far, has defeated many enemies, including Frieza and Majin Buu. Okay, great. So now the world is happy and everybody's at peace. So we start off this movie by introducing two characters. One is named Beerus and the Destroyer, and the other one's Whis. And these two characters have a lot more hidden beneath them than at first glance. Honestly, dude, one of them just looks like an alien, the other one looks like a big hat. So I didn't really like expect much of them when I first saw them. There was no like doom and gloom kind of scene. Matter of fact, the way the way they're introduced is very innocent. I mean, he literally wakes up from a cat nap. So I wasn't like at all thinking these are the big baddies I think we're going to turn out to be. Fast forward, uh, gosh, I don't know the name of that dude that lives on a tiny planet, but somehow he becomes aware that the cat dude has woken up. What's his
That
name?
would be King
King
Kai.
Kai?
The Kais,
Yeah, King Kai.
Kais are deities. So if you ever hear King Kai, Elder Kai, or Supreme Kai, they're all deities that sort of control, control and protect the universe.
Okay. So these guys find out that Beerus is awakened, and they're kind of freaked out. And then we fast forward a little bit more to Bulma's having a party, and she's upset because Vegeta's not there. And so we fast forward. Say that again?
That darn Vegeta.
Yeah.
Not a party person.
Not at all. Well, I mean, it's kind of hilarious because he totally is in the movie, like to try and distract viewers. I'm getting it, but anyway, let's see. Beerus kind of finds out, like, yo, there's a Super Saiyan God supposed to be around these parks. Let's go look for him. I'm up for a fight. And then he finds Goku on King Kai's planet, and then they're like, yo, are you a Super Saiyan God? Goku's very kind of like humble. He's like, no, I'm not him. And then finally, he kind of like incites him to fight him because otherwise he's going to go out and destroy Earth. So they fight, and holy crap, what's his face? Goku gets his ass beaten like hard. It's hilarious, actually. How easy it was, like with a pinky, literally a pinky. Beerus is able to just flick him like across the planet.
I have a question for you. If you had not seen, if you had not known maybe the growth of Goku and how strong he's gotten, and you saw that first fight in this movie, how strong would you have said Goku was? Would you? Because there wouldn't be anything to compare it to, because he just got sort of batted away by Beerus, right?
Yeah, if I didn't know that Goku was supposed to be the greatest fighter in the universe, I'd be like, man, this guy's a real wimp.
Right.
Like even after he goes, I'm gonna go Super Saiyan 1, then I'm gonna go 2, then I'm gonna go 3. Like that wouldn't mean anything to me. Like that, he might as well be saying like, okay, I'm gonna have 1 cup of soda, then I'm gonna have another cup of soda, then I'm gonna have 3 cups of soda. It's like, okay, dude, like that's just gibberish. But
Exactly.
I did know his past, and so that was like, whoa, like, I guess an analogous comparison, Batman, right? Like he's still a human being, but he's still super, super, super strong, super smart. It would be like Batman being outwitted, not necessarily outstrengthed. Is that a term? But because he's supposed to be the greatest detective, Batman, and so if Batman was outwitted by a villain, then you'd be like, whoa, this villain must be really, really clever.
Yes, but like as Batman and Goku's characters, you know that Batman and Goku are just gonna get better, and they're gonna defeat him the next time.
Well, see, that's the most interesting point of this whole movie, in my opinion, which is almost universally every single superhero movie. Really, Goku is a superhero. Um, ends in a happy ending, and by that narrative, there has to be a good triumphing over evil sort of storyline.
Yes.
That doesn't necessarily happen here, folks. And so that it's kind of actually, you know what? I feel like you know how people make jokes about The Simpsons, and they always say like when there's a plot in another TV show, they say, "Well, Simpsons did it. Simpsons did it," like as in to say they did it first. Well, in this case, I would say Dragon Ball Z did it first before Infinity War.
Oh, nice. Yeah, definitely came out in the manga first, I would say. Yeah, totally.
And what I mean by that, everybody, is basically like spoiler alert: Thanos wins, and in this one, Beerus technically wins, and so you're like, but I mean, totally different outcomes, of course. But the point is that it's not a neat gift wrapped package. Oh, Goku's gonna just become stronger and beat him.
No,
He tries,
it's
but he doesn't.
ongoing.
Yeah, but it's not necessarily successful by the end of this film.
Totally. What I find interesting is, but now just going off at an Infinity War tangent, that movie's great. But as an anime fan, I saw a lot of similarities to animes, especially little similarities to Goku and Dragon Ball. One of the first scene with Thanos, and he's fighting the Hulk. We have Obsidian Moss stopping the other guy to stepping in, the other big alien. He said, "Oh no, let him have his fun. Let Thanos have his fun and fight the Hulk." That was a completely like Dragon Ball-esque sort of line.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Beerus have his fun and just fight Goku.
Dude, like I don't know if I missed it, but I think you're 100% accurate in the sense that I don't think they ever give away the rationale for why Beerus wants to fight the Super Saiyan God so bad. I think he just wants to do it for shits and giggles, honestly.
He's a god of destruction. He's just sort of bored. He's very similar. Well, he's such a great rival for Goku. His personalities are similar. And Beerus just wants to get better, just wants to fight the strongest out there to sort of...
I think, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, they both have this kind of like path where they want to be the strongest.
Just so confirming to themselves that they're so powerful.
Yes. So since we stepped upon the Infinity kind of tangent, I want to talk about that a little bit more. I wrote down a question. It's just a fun, silly nerd question.
Great.
Okay, here we go. You already know it's coming. Who would win, Beerus or Thanos with the Infinity Stones?
Okay, so that's a very good question because when he gets all the stones, he is godlike in power. He's a god. But Beerus they can both destroy things with like a snap of their fingers. Man, that'd be a really good battle. I'll tell you this, though. I know you haven't seen it yet, but I would say Goku can beat Thanos with all the stones and the Infinity Gauntlet.
Wait, okay, so you just added another element, because my question was who So now you're saying that, wow, okay, so that's amazing that Goku can get beyond the level of Beerus, and holy crap, then wow.
You definitely, you can tell a rematch is going to happen.
Of course.
Goku.
I mean, they
yet in the storyline, but I feel like when it does, it's going to be ridiculous.
They actually literally set it up, like at the end of the movie. They're like, "Oh, hey, like, well, you want to come to Earth another day for my party?"
Right.
And then he's like, "All right, I'll have like next time I see you, we'll have a rematch, right?" And then he's like, "Yes, yes," or something like that.
Yes, exactly. What is great about Beerus is he is a big bad. You gotta remember, this is Dragon Ball, and one of the iconic things that Dragon Ball does as a franchise is to take a character who is so evil at their core to begin with, but then as the series goes on, they become good guys. Piccolo is a great example of this.
Vegeta is another example.
Wanted to destroy the world, wanted to conquer the world, but now just from being friends with Goku, they're freaking great guys. And so you get a little taste of it with Beerus. You know Beerus is going to come back. He might be a good guy, but there's definitely much coming.
Yeah. Alright, so let me get into a couple more notes I wrote down. So I really enjoyed the movie overall. It was really funny. And
there's a lot of humor in it. Yes, I like you were talking about the scenes with Vegeta.
Yeah, I mean, he's trying to prevent him from getting pissed off, and so he does all sorts of antics to try and, like, prevent him from getting upset, such as, like, dancing during the bingo scene, which is.
Oh my god.
And it was surprising, the movie was surprisingly fulfilling for only being 75 minutes.
Great, I'm glad.
Okay, so here's a question I have. So apparently everyone in the universe except pretty much most of Earth doesn't know anything about Beerus. I mean,
Oh,
even this dragon Sharon peed his non-existing pants. So how is it that nobody knows who Beerus is on Earth, at least?
you have to be of divine right. You have to be kind of traveled as well. I'll tell you someone who does know about Beerus, who might
What
not
would,
know, would be Frieza. He actually knows about him. Frieza's
oh,
Frieza's father, King Cold, an evil tyrant of the universe, told Frieza the two people you cannot mess with are Majin Buu and the God of Destruction, Beerus.
oh, really?
So they're
So, okay.
from Beerus's sort of notoriety that he's out there in the universe destroying planets, that I think other people who are traveled know about Beerus, but as Earthlings, we definitely don't know.
Okay, so you bring up another point. So, I know that Majin Buu was defeated. I don't know all the details as to how, but clearly there's this. I think his name is Good Buu or something in this movie, and you
It's
kind of.
it's him. So it's
So,
Majin
so it is it's Majin Buu,
what
really?
happens? Both versions of Boo are actually good. So what happens in the Boo saga is they convince the good Boo to be good, and he actually spits out his evil side, and that is the little Boo that we see wrecking shit up. So
Oh,
that Majin Buu becomes good, and he's best friends with Mr. Satan. And then the Kid Buu, there's a big battle. Goku has to defeat him. And actually, because Goku defeats Kid Buu on the Supreme Kai world, that Kid Buu can be reincarnated. And he gets reincarnated into a little boy that Goku eventually trains, and who is also good as well.
oh,
Yeah, so it's really it's a lot of history there, and what's great is you make these evil characters. It's a very sort of Marvel thing to do. These characters, but keep them in the universe, keep them alive.
huh. Okay, yeah, because I
I
was
would like
wondering.
to say in Endgame, I would like to have Thanos actually stay alive. That'd be ridiculous.
Hmm, that would be really cool. Okay, because I was just kind of wondering, like, whoa, what is like Majin Buu doing fighting Beerus over pudding? Like,
He's a good guy. He just likes sweets,
yeah,
and
and
they
so and the other thing too, like I didn't see. Okay, this is a perfect parallel question. You asked me at the beginning if you had known nothing about how powerful Goku had gone over the years, would the fight between him and Beerus mean anything to you? And I said no. So the parallel question that would be, I don't really necessarily know how powerful or what kind of an entity Beerus, not Beerus, but rather Majin Buu is. So their little tangle, like that didn't mean anything to me. Like I don't know if like I was supposed to be like awed at the fact that Majin Buu got his ass kicked, or if he's just a giant teddy bear and it doesn't matter.
pretty much it works both ways. Because if you're new to it going into the movie, you definitely see like, well, no one can stop this Beerus fellow, just like Thanos. You're like, no one can stop Thanos. What? But to learn that having watched the series before, that it took however many episodes to even take Boo down or to go on the good side, that's kind of ridiculous that Beerus is batting him away too. So there's just definitely what the series does is explains the power levels of everybody. You go through it organically of everyone powering up, and Vegeta too. I think say growing up, I was definitely a Goku fan, and I'm probably still am a Goku fan, but I think Vegeta for me is steals the show because his growth is ridiculous. There's actually in this movie. I don't know if it had the same impact on you as well, where Vegeta just like steals the limelight. He's freaking fantastic in this scene.
Are you talking about this? Which one?
Oh, and so first, right, Vegeta plays goody goody because even Vegeta knows, as the Prince of Saiyan, he kind of recollects a little bit about Beerus, and that
Yeah,
his father, Vegeta's father, told him not to mess with him either. So he
yeah,
tried to play nice with Beerus, trying not to destroy the Earth.
right.
But then Beerus sort of escalates to the point of being annoyed. Definitely after the Majin Buu fight, Bulma gets in his face because it's her freaking birthday party. And
And he
then
slaps the shit out of her.
Beerus does the unthinkable and hurts. That's when Vegeta. And this is like my favorite scene in all of Dragon Ball.
I did like, yeah, it looked like for a minute that, well, for a second there, that like, oh, Vegeta might actually have the upper hand here, like
Yes.
blowing some punches, and it was hurting Beerus, so that was fascinating. I did really enjoy that scene, yes.
Yes.
So I have a question about what I would conceive as a potential plot hole.
Great.
So Dragon Balls, right? If you gather them all, you can make a wish. So you already know this is coming. Why couldn't Goku simply just wish to become stronger than Beerus with the Dragon Balls?
Wonderful. So, the Dragon Balls, particularly Earth Dragon Balls, and even the Namek Dragon Balls on planet Namek, have really fine limitations. So, if it's out of the realm, if you're fighting a guy who's even stronger than the dragon who's creating the Whis, the dragon can't make you strong enough to beat that guy because the dragon itself isn't as strong as that guy.
Okay, so the power of the Dragon Balls come from the dragon, and so you can only become as strong as the dragon, correct?
Yes, correct. And
Or
Earth's Dragon Balls have very fine limitations. You can't bring back anyone who wasn't killed on Earth. You can't bring back whatever his name is from another planet. The Namekian Dragon Ball is a little more powerful. You get like 3 wishes with those. You can do a little bit more. But what kicks us off into the series, I'm glad you brought this up, is that now when it's called Dragon Ball, there's this discovery of Super Dragon Balls, which are planet-sized Dragon Balls that, upon wished upon, you can summon an even more powerful dragon who can just grant you any wish at all.
oh, so with that wish, you could conceivably wish to be stronger than Beerus.
Yes, exactly.
Wow. Okay. All right. So, hey, real quick question for you, just a trivial question. I never got the name of the tiny world that Goku made Beerus promise not to destroy right before he goes apeshit and destroys it himself.
That's just King Kai's planet. That's where King Kai lives. It's just this little planet that he creates.
Oh, he created it.
Don't mess with the King Kai or his planet. So Goku actually learns a little bit about deities all the way back in Dragon Ball Z when he is under the tutelage of King Kai.
Okay.
So even if Goku's not a god, he has godlike training in him.
Who were the little children monsters? Like the little, there was a little girl who like becomes the girlfriend of Trunks.
Yes. Okay, great. So the whole, these are bad guys all the way, man. Especially going into this, if you were raw into Dragon Ball, they are main baddies from the very first Dragon Ball. The little green dude is Emperor Pilaf, and he has a ninja friend who is a dog, and he has May, who is the soldier. He is an emperor, very similar to Piccolo. He's wanted to conquer the world. So in the original Dragon Ball, there's 3 main baddies. There's Piccolo, who is the ultimate baddie. There's the Red Ribbon Army, who also wanted to take over the world, which we see again in the Cell Saga. And then there's Emperor Pilaf, who wants to get the Dragon Balls and be an emperor, pretty much. So what happens is, what they never explain upon here, actually they do in the Dragon Ball GT series, that Emperor Pilaf actually gets his hand on the Dragon Balls, and instead of wishing for him to be an emperor, wishing him to be rich. At that point, they're all the dog, May, and Emperor Pilaf, so he wants them to be young and forever youthful, and so they revert back to children.
Oh my god. Okay, that's hilarious.
What's interesting in that series is you have to be very specific of how you phrase a wish. In the Dragon Ball GT series, which I'm going to say is canon now. There's a lot of confusion if that's canon or not, but I'm going to say it's canon just because Emperor Pilaf is the proof. In that series, freaking Goku is about to stop him from making the wish, and then Pilaf sort of announces to the dragon that I want to wish everyone here to be young again. And Goku is a child throughout that series again, and he has to revert back into his adults.
Oh wow, that would suck if you had a wife.
Yeah, there's a lot of funny moments in that one. But yeah, so that's kind of a roundabout way of telling who Pilaf is.
Okay.
But it's
well,
thrown in there, or why it's brought back in Dragon Ball. So I think why they bring back these characters is try to pay respect to their franchise, of course, but also to move it into the future. So be like, hey, we have Emperor Pilaf here. He's a good guy too, kind of.
Okay, that makes sense.
Well, I think they do it so when people watch it, they're like, oh, I remember this character, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, nostalgic purposes, I guess. That's cool. So, honestly, the only last thing I want to add is, and this is probably a loaded question, but where do we go from here? I like the ending, but like I said before the recording, it did feel a little cut off as there seems to be more to the story arc. So I'm just kind of curious how can I engage more? Because I know we're going to do another episode of You, so I thought it would make sense to kind of just do another episode of Dragon Ball Z.
And I would like to go into maybe Resurrection F and Battle of Gods 2. I'll link you up with both. And we can even do both. Like Resurrection F is just a great story arc of Frieza coming back. But it does have a hint of what happens with Goku. Goku, you want to be powerful. Definitely at the end of this, you realize, hey, I didn't beat Beerus. I still need to be powerful. And Beerus was kind of a good guy because he still sort of let the Earth remain spinning. So that's good that happened. So in Frieza, there's sort of a little stepping stone there that happens where pretty much Goku and Vegeta reach another level. Then in Battle of the Gods 2, and I talked about this a little bit.
So you're saying get into Resurrection F, and then afterwards, potentially the next one would be Battle of the Gods 2?
Yeah, if you want to, totally. And so pretty much what I hinted at the previous podcast was we learned that Beerus is not the only god of destruction, because there's other god of destructions from different multiverses. So then in Battle of Gods 2, that kind of where it hits off, that we've discovered there's freaking multiverses of these other gods, these other people more powerful than Goku, and Goku just wants to fight them all.
Okay. Cool.
And not only are there other gods, but there's other fighters in those universes, just like Goku, who are strong as well.
All right, yeah, because they kind of talk about. Oh, actually, I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot I wanted to ask that. They kind of hint at it in the movie, but it sure seems like Whis is, if not stronger, but at least equal to Beerus in terms of strength.
He is. He plays a big part actually coming up.
So, the way I took it to mean actually, and I might be completely off base, is that Beerus is the destroyer of this particular universe, and potentially Whis is the destroyer of another universe.
And you're almost on it, but yeah, you're almost there. That was a really great guess.
Okay, cool. That's exciting. That I'm close.
Yeah, it's very close. And Whis is definitely a part of something larger that's going on. Both of them are actually Beerus and Whis. All
right. Cool, man. Well, that kind of that's all I really had to to say about this particular movie.
Sweet, sweet. Did that get you? One of my main goals did that get you back into Dragon Ball?
Yeah, I definitely want to keep digesting this material. It's
Right.
super fascinating,
Right.
and I love being back into the swing of something so nostalgic. Because I mean, I saw this when I was like a little kid in the '90s, so a lot has happened since then. So I really want to get back into it.
Yeah, and like I said, going into it, I had the same feelings of who the hell is this little other green guy that's collecting these Dragon Balls too, which is Emperor Pilaf, and I went back and watched old episodes of Dragon Ball. I was like, oh yeah. So it's great that they bring back all this stuff in their historic franchise, and it's something that keeps on going. I would relate it to Marvel and even Star Wars. It's just that iconic.
It is, yeah, it's that big. Yes, I agree.
So
All
there's
right,
a lot to unpack, so that's why we do these podcasts.
exactly.
A lot of the things to unpack from these shows and movies. So yeah, catch us next time when we'll be continuing Netflix U. We'll probably talk about Resurrection F or Dragon Ball Z, and maybe even Battle of the Gods 2. We'll see where it goes from there. All right, thanks for
Absolutely.
listening, guys.
Thanks for listening. Have a good day.